YouTube Ozick going. The Goat House is back with an updated 2-round NFL mock draft. Got 4 big trades in this one as well. We got 10 days left until the NFL draft. So basing this off of latest buzz, what I'm hearing, what I'm predicting to happen here, a lot more content to come leading up to the NFL draft, during the NFL draft, and after. We do plan on live streaming day 1 of the draft. We can't, of course, show it, but more updates on that on our Twitter when they become official. So make sure you follow us there. Fan Voted Mock Draft on the Twitter as well. Live talk throughout the rest of the NFL draft, analysis on each pick. Subscribe to the channel for all that content. Check out walktomock.com and use code GOATHOUSE if you do. Definitely the best draft simulator out there. Here's our Twitter at GoatHouse NFL. There's a link pinned in the comments for the Twitter. Anything else you need. We got a fan voted mock draft. This is about over for the Jets, and then more than a few more picks. And we got some more picks here to finish off the first round. And then I'll make a video out of this, kind of reacting to your guys' mock draft there. So make sure you participate in that. I'm going to break down all these picks, but here we go. And we'll break down the trades and the trade details that came up with as well. First pick, Trevor Lawrence. Don't need to break that down anymore. Zach Wilson, too. Don't need to break that down anymore. It'd be pretty wild if either of those were not the pick. That would make an even more interesting draft night, but I expect it to be the pick. Niners pick at 3. Back and forth. It's the biggest storyline of the draft. I just can't wait to see what the commissioner says, what Roger Goodell says, what name he says. Right off the bat, people were saying Lance. That was kind of day 1 after the trade. Then everyone was saying it's Mac Jones. Come on, it's Mac Jones. It kind of feels like a Shanahan quarterback, Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, like that. And I was kind of saying Justin Fields makes the most sense. I don't know if they're going to take him, but Justin Fields makes the most sense to me. I think he's the best fit. I think he brings that athleticism to the table as well, but he's a pass-first guy. They're not looking for a run-first guy, but Justin Fields is not a run-first guy. With all of the bootleg play action, in Shanahan's scheme, I thought that made the most sense. And then Justin Fields has his second pro day last week, and you see him talking with Shanahan. That seems to be the talk. Maybe it's Justin Fields now. I'm predicting Mac Jones still. It's definitely up in the air, but because anytime you hear something from anybody in the league, you hear a quote, you see it, whatever, it's always Mac Jones. You never hear it from the 49ers organization themselves, but you hear it from other teams, executives, scouts, coaches from other teams. Every single one thinks it's Mac Jones. Does that mean it's guaranteed? Absolutely not. Can't guarantee anything, But that's just the way. That's just what it feels like. And I guess what makes sense, the part of it that makes sense for Mac Jones there, Shanahan believes in his system first. I think that's the flaw. I think you choose the quarterback over the system because the quarterback will make or break your team. Patrick Mahomes, example, he is the system. Freaking Tom Brady just went somewhere new and kind of created a Super Bowl team along with a good roster, but you get my point. So I do think that's a mistake, but at the end of the day, Shanahan believes in his scheme. He just needs a guy to be able to read coverages, read the defense, read the open receiver, make an accurate throw, and I guess if you put it that way and process it at a high level, very fast, very quickly, if you put it that way, that sounds like Mac Jones as well. So you can argue any way. I'd probably go Justin Fields still, but, there are things that point towards Mac Jones, so that's what I'm predicting. Patriots, I had a trade with the Falcons. So what I'm hearing from the Falcons, from what we're hearing with the Patriots, is they would like to trade up for a quarterback. The way they built in this offseason, this free agency kind of feels like that. They did everything but the quarterback. Now they can put full focus on the quarterback. Doesn't mean it's guaranteed they trade up. They'll be hesitant to trade away a next year first, but they would have to. So that's the tricky part. The Falcons, I've heard the owner, Arthur Blank, would like a quarterback of the future, but he's not forcing anything. And the staff, coaching staff, front office, they want to help win now so they can go for a guy like Kyle Pitts. But I also heard trading back is a pretty strong option. Why? Because the higher the pick, the more of a cap hit. You actually can end up with more picks by trading back and less of a total cap hit. And they are very, very limited in terms of cap. So I guess imagine almost half. I don't think they have to, but that would be pretty rough if they almost had to trade back because of that. That'd be pretty tough. I've seen it before, but so that is another reason why they could trade back. But could a guy like Kyle Pitts or their quarterback of the future maybe just be too damn appealing for them to move back? But I had the Patriots trading up and taking Trey Lance. I think the best fit. I think the guy they'll like the most. I think perfect with Cam Newton. I would like to start Lance right away For some reason, people got in their minds that he needs to sit right away. I don't think anybody needs to sit or needs to start. There's no need or must. I would like for him to start because I do think he's better day one than Cam Newton, but I think it's a perfect scenario there. Trade details. Again, I said the Patriots, the reason they may not do this is because somebody outbid them. The Falcons may not want to trade back. They may want to take their guy, or the Patriots just really don't want to offer that next year first, but they would have to in this case. So 15th overall, second round pick into 2022 first. It's what it's going to cost. Something doesn't have to be exactly those picks, but something at least equal to that if it goes down. And, of course, the Patriots go up and get Trey Lance. Bengals, Penei Sewell. This is another tough one, too. Jamar Chase makes a ton of sense because they need an X receiver. He's maybe the best X receiver since Julio Jones. Best receiver prospect since Julio Jones. They need a guy like that. He also has the chemistry with Joe Burrow, and they have their three receivers on the field just as much or more than anybody, and they don't have A.J. Green anymore. Jamar Chase would be an upgrade over that as well. So that would all make sense. I heard they could be in on Kyle Pitts. There's some people saying that within the league that they believe Pitts will go before Chase because the people that don't have Pitts at tight end, just receiver, still view him as the best receiver potentially because of his contested catch ability. But the people that do view him as a tight end also view him as a receiver, and you kind of get everything there. So he's, for the most part, from what I've been hearing, he's kind of the number one guy, weapon, I guess, on everyone's board for the most part, not for every single team, I should say. So they could go that route even if Chase is there. Based on all the quotes I see from in the league, you see the same thing. This almost the same. It's said the same way almost. How could they not go offensive line? They have to go offensive line. They got to protect Joe Burrow. I think we all have been saying that. But then you see some quotes from, people within the league, executives, coaches that say kind of what I've been saying. I think they're going to keep Jonah Williams at left tackle. They just signed Riley Reid for right tackle. Their biggest need is actually guard, not tackle. So do they trade back? Do they take a guard? Do they wait to the second round, take a guard? My thinking, though, is Riley Reid's only a one-year deal, and they didn't know for sure if they were going to be able to get their guy. So they kind of had to go for a guy like that in free agency just in case, because you couldn't just say, well, we're going to draft one. Let's not sign anybody decent, and then you're screwed if you miss out on the guy. Also, reports coming out that Sewell has been preparing to play right tackle. It's almost as if a team has told him he's going to play right tackle. As soon as Riley Reid got in Cincinnati, they told him he had to play right tackle. Why? Because Jonah Williams is probably playing left tackle. It's kind of ringing some bells there. I think Sewell could be the pick for the Bengals, but it's really up in the air. The Dolphins go Kyle Pitts, so they take the best overall weapon. You would think could be Chase, but a guy that can play, with Gesicki at tight end. You could use both, obviously, a receiver for Pitts as well. You get better there because they had Will Fuller as well. You just get dominant out there. They do have the contested catch type receiver, DeVonta Parker. So if they view Pitts as a receiver, maybe they don't go that route. It is tough because I keep bringing it up. Did the Dolphins trade back, then trade back up with a specific guy in mind that they know they're going to get at 6? A guy they would not have been able to get at 12, but they know they're going to get at 6. You don't trade up if you have a guy in mind unless you know you're going to get him. And they could have had a shot at Kyle Pitts at 3 with all this talk. The Falcons might take him at 4. So that would be the reason against it. Maybe they're just preparing to just not take Kyle Pitts even if he's there. But, they could have just traded the spot because there's going to be somebody very good there, and Kyle Pitts slips through, so they take him. So that ended up making Jamar Chase drop to 7, which by this scenario is definitely very possible. The Lions are a big trade back spot. They actually could show interest. It's kind of reports coming out of the league that they could trade back. But if Jamar Chase is there, I don't see them trading back. I see them taking Jamar Chase, the best receiver prospect in the class, so they do that. Another team that I'm hearing could trade back is the Carolina Panthers. They gave up picks for Sam Darnold. They want to get more picks and some. They want to come away with a load of picks in this class from what I've heard. But if a guy like Slater is sitting there, I don't think they'll be able to trade back. A trade back could be coming in the second round, maybe in the third round. It doesn't have to be at pick 8, but it could be. But if a guy like this is there, and they got to take him, and they plug in Slater at left tackle. Obviously, they got Moton at right tackle and protect Sam Darnold here. We're moving on to the next group of picks. So I had Justin Fields slip through to 9. He very well could go at 3. It's very, very possible. So you see one switch. There's a lot of red on this page. I just realized that. A lot of red schools. So it's very possible Justin Fields can be here. It's very possible he can go at 3. That's just the beauty of the NFL draft here. So he slips through. What's interesting is the Broncos have kind of been labeled as this trade-up team, but have they actually called and tried to prepare something, a just-in-case moment? They haven't, from reports that we've heard. People just kind of assume they want to bring in some competition for Drew Lock. But if a guy, so maybe they don't trade up, but if a guy like this falls to them, I think they pull the trigger, as they did here. Cowboys at pick 10. We always mock them a corner. What if they went something else? What if they went offensive line? Because their offensive line, they value it, but it's always beat up. What if they went a guy like Christian Barmore as well? It's possible. Just keep going corner. Surtain, Horn, I think the league is split. I keep hearing rave reports on Patrick Surtain. Apparently, there's a team out there that has Surtain is the second best non-quarterback in the entire draft. So take away quarterbacks, the second best player, which is crazy to me, but he's very good. So we're going to say that Surtain might be the best or the first corner off the board here. Cowboys pair him with Trevon Diggs, his former Alabama teammate. The Giants, it kind of feels like they may not be done taking those weapons, so they go Jaylen Waddle. A lot of rave reports from Jaylen Waddle. There's even reports that he actually could be the first receiver off the board. Because of those reports, I guess I see it, in terms of evaluating these guys, obviously a great talent, but I just don't see it. I would take, I guess it could go by fit as well, but I would take Chase and DeVonta Smith over Waddle. Waddle's fantastic. But the Giants could add that speed, a guy that can play in the slot, play outside, and that would make an insane receiver unit. Could go edge rush, could go one of the linemen if they drop through. But this kind of the latest it feels like Waddle's going to go at this point. It really does. And the Eagles go with DeVonta Smith. Love DeVonta Smith. I've been hearing the league split on him, too. You hear that he could fall. Why? Because some teams just don't like that he's 170 pounds. Some teams just don't like that. And there's some teams that just watch him and they see what I see what a lot of you see. He's such a high IQ player. He's got the great footwork. He's got the great athleticism. He creates separation, but he has high IQ. He can read coverages. He can find the open spots. He's good against man as well to go on top of that. He's just a fantastic receiver that's an instant impact guy. It's exactly the guy the Eagles need. They have not been able to get these high IQ separation type of guys. It's sitting right here for you. They got to do it. Chargers go Christian Darsaw. I like Christian Darsaw a lot. Plug and play left tackle. Almost gives me Trent Williams vibes. Perfect for the Chargers. They need a left tackle bad for Justin Herbert, badly. The Vikings, kind of back and forth on them, too. They're pretty desperate for O-line, and Elijah Vera-Tucker's been getting some rave reports. Heard some teams have top 10 grade on him. So maybe this is the latest he goes. But I think this is more of his range. I don't know if with all those other talents at top 10, I don't know if I'd take him top 10. I think this is more of his range. It'd be interesting to see if they put him at tackle, guard. The Vikings kind of value drafting multiple offensive linemen, maybe day 2, early day 3, and maybe get the best available pass rusher. Maybe they need a corner because the whole Gladney situation here, so maybe they take Horn. So it's actually a team, biggest need, offensive line, but it's pretty much a mystery team, it feels like at this point. So the Falcons traded back, and they still get a top-tier cornerback. A lot of your number one corners out there could be Jaycee Horn, and they grab him. Physical man corner. They're going to play a lot of man opposite of AJ Terrell. Perfect. So they trade back, get pieces, and still get their corner. They were apparently in on Kyle Fuller when he got released. So they were looking for a number one caliber cornerback because they feel like they need 2. I think everybody should feel like they need 2. Obviously, some teams pay one a lot of money, value one, and we don't need to spend a lot there. We don't need to invest a lot there, high draft pick. The Falcons are looking to load up that cornerback unit as it feels like. In this case, they would. Cardinals would like one of these corners. They may have to trade up. I don't know, because they do have some other needs. They kind of want to fill out the rest of this roster because they want to win right now. They added some high, big name players in some key spots. But I do think, they need another inside receiver. They need another corner. They definitely need more of the D-line. J.J. Watt up by himself up there. That's not considering the outside linebackers who are the edge rushers in their scheme. So, they do need a little bit there. So I don't know if trading up would be ideal, but if it's to lock up one of those corners to pair with Malcolm Butler, sure. But Christian Barmore has been getting a lot of buzz. Sounds like this might be the latest he goes. Raw defensive lineman, has a lot of upside, can move around a bit. I think perfect to pair with J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt's going to play 3-4 end. Don't see Barmore there. I see him moving around the other couple spots there. So that could be ideal. I think it's a good fit for the Cardinals. Next group of picks here, we have a trade in here that we'll get to. I've been having Tevin Jenkins to the Raiders. I'm gonna keep that. They built, on defense, except for the cornerback and free safety position. I view a little, in terms of they kind of need a single high free. It's definitely be too much of a reach for that next single high free, in my opinion, at 17. corner, it just doesn't feel like they need another young cornerback. It's either a veteran or go home, in my opinion. They're really changing up their scheme, their coverage concepts with Gus Bradley coming in, so it really could improve Trayvon Mullen, who I'm not really worried about, but Damon Arnett's game as well. And then they need to focus on that right tackle spot there with Tevin Jenkins. Bully of a blocker, better run blocker than pass protector. The Raiders do want to run the ball first, but they're pretty balanced. But I think they'll like him there. I think it's a good fit. I had Micah Parsons slipping through. I think a fantastic talent should not fall this far. But you see the guys I had on the first 2 pages. It's hard to figure out any of those guys that are going to drop through. So somebody ends up dropping through. Parsons, it seems like the character concerns are resurfacing. I don't think that's teams. I think that's media, but maybe he could end up slipping through because of that. It's kind of up in the air. Really, it only takes a team or 2 or whatever for them to be okay with him, and they take him because he's such a good talent. But, this could kind of be that Flores hybrid player where he's 1 second and off the ball linebacker, 1 second an edge rusher, really, because he can play both at a high level. Even though we haven't seen him rush off the edge a whole lot, we have seen it, and we've seen it at a high level. Washington goes Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. I think a fantastic fit in that cover 3 scheme of Ron Rivera's. It's just a question of, do they view Landon Collins already as that safety linebacker hybrid because he's kind of played like that in the past. JOK, but can play that at a high level and does fit that fantastically. So we'll just find out in draft night we'll see if he's there or not. We'll see if he's there and they pass on him. I would assume it's because they kind of already have that locked up because you would imagine he's the best player on the board at this point, perhaps. Bears go Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney's name has been kind of being hyped up a bit. Sounds like he might go a little higher than expected. We kind of all expect him in this range. So the Bears want more playmakers. You get a big-time playmaker with Kadarius Toney here. I had the Bills trade up. The Bills could be an edge rusher that gets to the quarterback away from a Super Bowl, and you see the edge rusher start to fall a little bit. Teams are, the quarterbacks, offensive line, receivers, push everything else back, especially the good edge rushers. Teams may wait a little bit because there's such a good group of the edge rushers. So that kind of forces a very talented, top 10 talent in Jaylen Phillips to fall. Maybe his injury concerns from the past make him fall as well, but perfect fit in the Bills scheme, will be extra productive. They trade up and get him. They make sure to get ahead of these teams that could use a pass rusher. And this would be, if the Bills did something like this, if they added Phillips, I'd be all on board. I'll be on the Bills train there for sure. Titans go Rashad Bateman. They need a receiver for sure. I could see them going Bateman, Toney if he's there, Terrace Marshall, Elijah Moore. I could see him go any of those routes in this scenario. Had him going Bateman to kind of replace Corey Davis. Talked about Azeez Ojulari being a fit for the Jets, opposite of Carl Lawson, a guy that is kind of a hybrid linebacker. Carl Lawson going to be on the line here in the dirt. Ojulari going to be a mixture of things, kind of like D Ford was in Robert Saleh's scheme. Ojulari could even drop in coverage if you need him to. I'm starting to like the idea of Steelers going edge rush because it's so important to them. We've seen they took a pretty good hit when Bud Dupree was out. The defense definitely was not as good. And they do have Alex Highsmith, who was pretty impressive, but I think you can still upgrade, and they value having kind of a rotation. It's starting to grow on me a little bit, the idea of Kwity Paye possibly playing in the 3-4. He kind of feels like a 4-3 end. He played 4-3 end at Michigan. They even slid him inside. But I'm kind of going back and seeing he did have some stand-up reps, and I think he has some upside playing like that. So I think a team like the Steelers would view him as a fit. I think it'll be a limited amount of 3-4 teams that view him as a fit, but I think they'll like him, and I think Kwity Paye will be extra productive there, opposite of TJ Watt, of course, in the Steelers scheme. I forgot to go over the trade details for there it is, Bills and Colts. The Colts, I think realistic to trade back, try to recoup some of those picks. They get a third-round pick back, and they also get a third round next year to help out recouping next year's picks, perhaps, because they're going to lose one with the Carson Wentz trade. I thought about getting the Bills' second round of the Colts, but in terms of value, they would have to give something back up. Not something of tremendous value, but they wouldn't be gaining picks. I think they'd be looking to gain picks here, a third and a third next year. The Bills might be more interested in doing it as well. But that was the trade for that one. And then we move back. We got some more trades here. So right off the bat, we have a trade. The Buccaneers move up to 25. They swap with the Jags. The Jags going down to pick 32 there. And the Buccaneers come up and get Jason away. Maybe the freakiest athlete pass rusher we've ever seen. in NFL draft history. Pretty raw. You got to work with him. The Buccaneers will be confident that he's a fit and they can work with him. They work with Shaq Barrett, turning him into the monster he is today. They can use a way with him and JPP, rotate him in, try to play them all three at once. So I think it's a perfect situation. I think they'll like him a lot, and then we'll see trade details move up a little bit. And the Jags don't necessarily need more picks, but they get some pretty good value here. They get a third-round pick, and they don't need more picks for this year. So they start to add on the next year. They're adding a 2022 fifth, and they go back and get a guy who I think that surprisingly, maybe to some, could actually target, but also could trade back and get. Well, you can see it on your screen, but we'll talk about it a little bit. The Browns could be a team in for Jason Away. The Buccaneers make sure they get ahead of them and the Ravens. But the Browns could go Zaven Collins here, the linebacker from Tulsa, high motor guy, always around the ball, pretty good in coverage, and pretty good flying around the backfields. And the Browns will like to kind of get a linebacker that's just always around the ball. Ravens get their receiver, they get Elijah Moore. Would love this value pick. I'm a big fan of Elijah Moore. I think it's a perfect Willie Snead replacement plus upgrade, big time upgrade in my opinion. They need a guy who can control the slot. They need a guy that can just get open. They want to run quick plays. They want to run quick with Lamar Jackson, Elijah Moore, get open instantly. Very good route runner, home run hitter after the catch. I think it'd be perfect. Another trade. I have the Jets trading up with the Saints, 28th pick. I think it's very realistic to see the Saints trade back. I think it's very realistic. Saying anybody is gonna trade back, the percentage on that is usually low, but I think the Saints, the chances of trading back, I don't want to say high, but I think it's very possible here because they are still very, very limited in the cap space. More picks, but lower of picks, even though it's more picks, actually would be less of a cap hit, believe it or not. That's how it works in the NFL draft. Remember, the Saints also had to let go of a bunch of players. They didn't really bring anybody in for the most part. They bring in a few guys or re-sign a guy here and there. So they need bodies bad. We see this every year. Teams with not a whole lot of cap space and teams that need bodies want to add a lot of draft picks. They want to fill out the rest of the roster with more draft picks. So we could see a lot of Saints trade back throughout this draft. Very, very possible. So the Jets come up 28th overall. Saints go back 34th overall. So early second round pick. And they get a third round pick would be, if we're only moving back a little bit here, would be tremendous value. They send something back to the Jets, but the Saints don't want to give up another pick this year because they need those to fill out their roster there. So giving up, the Saints, that is, giving up a next year pick. So definitely watch out for the Saints trading back. It's not a guarantee, of course, but it makes sense for the reasons I explained. The Jets trade up to get Alex Leatherwood. I've been hearing a lot of teams have first-round grades on Alex Leatherwood. I'm not seeing it in terms of a tackle, but if you watch my interior offensive line rankings, I love the idea of Alex Leatherwood at guard. He's actually my second-ranked interior offensive lineman. He just feels like a dominant guard to me at the NFL level. I don't think he has the quickness for tackle at the NFL, but I think he'd be a really good guard. The Jets, I think, would plug him in at guard, and they would like that. I'm guessing the teams, at least most of the teams that have first-round grade on Alex Leatherwood, they're probably thinking the same thing. They're probably thinking that guard, this could be one of the better guards of the class. Worst case, he can continue at left tackle or right tackle for that matter. So the Jets grab him. I think they probably play him at guard. They make sure they get it. I think a team like the Packers could be targeting him. A team like the Colts there. Team like the Chiefs. So they get up and they grab him. Caleb Farley falls in the Packers' lap. They only signed Kevin King 1 year. I think they're looking to move on from them. So that they grab Caleb Farley. He does have some injury concern, but a very talented cornerback there. And they plug him in opposite of Jair Alexander. Be a hell of a duo for a long time if Farley's healthy. So the Colts traded back. And again, they could trade back, target a tackle. I still don't see the value here for the tackle. There's a pretty big gap for the rest of the tackles. So I'm still not seeing in terms of the value of the pick, but I think they would like Gregory Rousseau, a lot because he's very versatile, moves around. I think he fits at 4-3 end for their defense, but I think on obvious passing downs, we can see him on the inside with DeForest Buckner. So I think that'd be ideal for the Colts, and they fill that big need there. And then the Chiefs go Greg Newsome. So Newsome kind of been getting a little bit of buzz lately. Not a huge sample size of his first-round tape, though, and then had some minor injuries pop up here and there. So I think this is more of his range, in my opinion. The Chiefs grab him, though. They lost some corners this past year. Could use they use a lot of corners within a game. You see that a lot with the Chiefs, so they always could use more. And the Jags, again, I had them trading back. They could make this pick at 25. Travis Etienne. they have James Robinson in there at running back. He had a fantastic year, but I think they'll, it's a new coaching staff. It's a new scheme. I think they'll value Etienne's kind of explosiveness, his speed, his the ability to catch the ball. And they'll kind of and then the only worries about Etienne is, can he get 25 to 30 carries inside, with a lot of those being inside runs in a game. That's kind of the concern. But if you pair him with Robinson, I think that sounds very possible, very, very, very ideal, I should say, to me. Would I make this pick though? It sounds ideal, but I don't know if I wouldn't take Etienne in the first round, honestly. But they do gain picks. Picks take them 32nd overall, and that makes it more ideal there. But in the chemistry with Trevor Lawrence is kind of a bonus there. But I think they'll value having another running back in there. It's something that I think is possible. People aren't talking about it. I think it's very, very possible. We move on to the second round. So the Jags picked twice in a row with this, and Javon Mareg, who I think everybody mocks them. The Jags him quite a bit. They could use another safety, would play strong in their scheme. Saints trade back and still get a guy who could go in the first round in Jamin Davis, a linebacker. I think they'll like, good in coverage, very athletic. Pair him with Demario Davis. The Falcons get Najee Harris, so they get their running back of the future. The Dolphins get Javonte Williams. They get their running back. Eagles take their corner. Eric Stokes could also sneak in the back of the first round. They pair him with Darius Slay. The Bengals didn't. Remember, I had them taking an offensive line. I didn't have them taking a receiver in the first. So they go with a receiver here. They need an outside receiver. Really thought about Terrace Marshall because he has that chemistry with Joe Burrow. But it's more, Terrace Marshall is more of a Tyler Boyd type receiver in their offense. They need more of the outside. De'Ami Brown, a home run threat. Panthers go Asante Samuel Jr. I think he's a fantastic fit in their heavy cover 3 scheme. Broncos could be looking for edge of the future. Von Miller has his injuries pop up. 1 year left. Bradley Chubb has some injuries pop up. They go to Joe Tryon. I think it's a fantastic fit there. Levi Onwuzurike, some guy, a guy getting some buzz, could go late first, but the Lions grab him, pair him with Brockers. Giants grab Jalen Mayfield, potentially start him at right tackle here. Could also play guard. 49ers get Ifeatu Melifonwu, another guy that's soaring up boards, just freak athlete, got good tape as well, so it's not like he's just raw. Cowboys grab their nose tackle. Lee McNeil, I think, has got tremendous upside there. Today's type of nose tackle. Jags go Landon Dickerson. I think they probably play him at guard. They may not start him right away because their offensive line's looking okay now, but they got a couple 1 year guys left, 1 year left in their deal. So they grab Dickerson. Falcons, they got this pick from the Patriots in the earlier trade in this mock. They go Ronnie Perkins, so they get their edge rusher from Oklahoma here. Chargers go Terrace Marshall. I mean, not the biggest need, but they actually could be looking out for a receiver here for Herbert. They want to, it's a pass-first team. They get a long receiver that can play in the slot, then dominant outside in the red zone. I think that's key for them there. Javon Holland for the Raiders. Can play some free, can play some strong, can play slot corner. They probably play him at free, in my opinion. The Raiders, that is. Next group of picks, Cardinals go Calvin Joseph, so they get their man corner here from Kentucky. Dolphins go Quinn Miners. I have this one a lot. I feel like I just really like the fit for him to be the Miami Dolphins center with that offensive line. Washington gets Samuel Cosmi, can possibly start at left tackle for them right away. The Bears get Kellen Mond, so they get their quarterback of the future here. And maybe battles Andy Dalton. Could win the job, perhaps. Titans get Aaron Robinson. They're looking for another corner. Aaron Robinson he had a tough task at UCF. He played a good amount of slot and outside. Like, he'll switch play after play almost. It's ridiculously hard. He played more slot. I like him outside, though. I like him outside. Colts get Liam Eichenberg, so they get their left tackle. Now I think he's a fit there. This is more of his range, though. I think a lot of these tackles, some people have guys like Cosmi Eichenberg, in the late first. I feel way more comfortable here. Steelers get their tackle and Dylan Reduce. Seahawks get Rondale Moore. Another guy that can sneak late first. It just teams might be a little scared. Is he only a gadget player? Big question mark there, but fantastic talent. So Seahawks grab him. They were looking into Antonio Brown, Willie Snead, some other receivers like that. So I think they'll be interested in getting a guy like Moore. Rams get Nick Bolton. He ended up sliding a little bit in this. And they need inside linebacker help, even with maybe their best defense in the NFL last year. So they get that here with Nick Bolton. Peyton Turner, the Houston edge rusher. If you like Gregory Rousseau, I think you'll like Turner for some similarities there. Extremely lengthy, high motor guy. Got to work with him a little bit, but I think the Ravens could like him. One of those project edge rushers that they turn into something there. Not a crazy project, though. I think he'd make an impact right away. Browns take Milton Williams. They can use him off the edge. They can use him at 3 technique. So kind of rotating with Clowney, replacing Sheldon Richardson. Could start replacing Sheldon Richardson, perhaps. Tyson Campbell to the Saints. Yeah, they need another corner as well. The Bills go with Jabril Cox. And they could be looking for more of a coverage linebacker out there. Give Edmonds freedom to blitz a little more. And Matt Milano could obviously cover as well, but kind of being that third one there in there. That they don't have to use every down. You could also put in the slot if they ever needed to. Almost feels like a safety at times. Packers go Amon-Ra St. Brown, so they grab their receiver here. Versatile receiver, in my opinion, because he can be equally played throughout his career and was effective in the slot and the outside. Chiefs go Carlos Basham. I think a good fit opposite of Frank Clark. Pretty good value. And the Buccaneers take quarterback of the future here, Davis Mills. Kellen Mond, Davis Mills been getting some buzz. They could go earlier. It's tough to pinpoint which team will do that. I think it would be a trade up, early second, maybe late first. It's just tough to figure out. That's why the draft's going to be so great. How these quarterbacks come off the board. Not only the big ones at the top. What about these guys too? Maybe Trask can sneak up. I've heard there's teams that actually have a late first on grade on Trask, and there's teams that have 4th round grade on Trask. So we're all over the place with Trask around the league from what I've heard. So going to be interesting to see where he goes. But I really like these fits. I like these trades. So I'm never really a big fan of doing the trades because I think it kind of creates a mess. But I think these are very realistic trade teams that we should look out for moving up or down, obviously, here. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments for this mock draft. This won't be the last one, even though the draft's only 10 days away. We'll have different types of mock drafts. Of course, we got the fan voted mock going on Twitter. We'll react to that on YouTube once it's finished. Position rankings are going on right now, of course. We're through a good chunk of them and a lot of content to come before, during, and after the NFL draft. Follow our Twitter for channel updates, schedule updates, and constant NFL updates as well. Link pinned in the comments for anything you need, but that is going to do it for this one. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Goodbye.